So my name is Marcin, and I work at Psychop, and we provide software for monitoring network infrastructure completely passively using flow data, mainly NetFlow. And what we have noticed is that many of our customers are using multiple different systems like CMDB, CM systems, ticketing systems, and others. And we have decided to create an built-in templates for custom integrations between those systems. And while creating those templates, we also noticed that an automation is a big part of this step of this integration part. And yeah, so we will focus today on that one. So I have few nice use cases for you to check, and you can implement those use cases at your environment. So you don't actually need our software if you want to use some other integrations between, for example, ticketing systems and CMDB or something like that. So you can also check that. Okay, so why would you need network automation? So those are just few numbers to provide you an overview of the use cases of the. I mean, an overview of why it's so important. So network outages, mainly caused by human error. You can say that. And for downtime, this is a cost per minute. You also have cost reduction once you automate your actions, and additional security breaches regarding the human factor. Yeah, okay. So as I said, we are monitoring infrastructure passively. So what is the challenges if you do it actively? So if you want to compare us, you can compare us with solutions that are monitoring actively using SNMP, ICMP, WMI, and so on. However, when you use those solutions, firstly, you need to configure quite a lot of things manually in order to provide quite nice troubleshootings. So basically what I mean is that you need to have a working SNMP, community strings or credentials, V2, V3, lots of different factors like firewall configuration in order for active communication to work properly. So there are quite a lot of things to do. For us, we simply receive NetFlow data, and that's it. There is no additional configuration needed. We also have limited visibility across hybrid networks. So if you are monitoring actively and you have multiple sites, maybe some parts are in the cloud, then you need to take that into consideration. With flow data, it's very easy because as soon as we receive that information, then we have it. And slow response for anomalies and threats. So basically that means that for active monitoring, you have sampling, and that sampling can vary between systems, but mostly it's like 5-10 minutes, depending on what you are actually checking. So you can check ICMP, that would be a bit quicker, but if you want to check, like, for example, SQL or HTTP, then it would be with slower response time. Okay, so we are helping, you can divide us into two teams. So we are helping network operations center teams as well as security operations center teams. And for NOG teams, that would be NTA and NPM. So we have 1 minute intervals. So that would be a benefit from passive option for the NetFlow. And from NetFlow, you can also generate intelligent threads, baselines. So you can have like up and down ribbons, we call them ribbons, when you can check how the current traffic overlays with the trends that are calculated using a time period depending on what you need. And for NPM, automatic asset inventory. So that's a big one. I have a few slides for that one. So basically what that means is in a passively monitoring infrastructure, when you have a system such as Psychop, you can have integration that is building nearly in real time. So if you have a new asset, like a new IP address, new application, new port, those can be auto-populated within the system. And you have application discovery. So network ports are used by applications, and we can have those applications within the inventory. And for the NetFlow or other flow protocols, you don't need credentials. You don't need to log into SQL. You don't need to use additional credentials like service accounts or something like that. So that's also nice. And for SOC teams, for our solution, we have an online repository. So that's great. You can have multiple rules that could trigger some alerts, and those rules can be automatically refreshed using the repository. So I'm talking about malicious IPs, suspicious activity, and so on. And that would be dynamic alerting and rules, which I will talk about in following slides. Okay, so the main point, network automations and what kind of actions you can have with our integration. So this is one of the example. And here you can see, yeah, so that's an asset. We call them assets. But basically, it's an IP address with all of the services enabled on that IP, all of the connections to and connections from. It's not in the slide, but we also have an automatic mapping. What is a server? What is a client? What is an external IP, internal IP? So you have all that information as well. It's simply not visible at this print screen. And those things, all the entries are mapped automatically. So for example, if someone would create a new Apache server, you would see that automatically here. So that's great. You don't need to create a new discovery, do some manual actions. Everything is visible here. You can, of course, add tags, descriptions, and so on, or you can integrate that. So I will talk about this in a second. Okay. Automations using mapping and objects. So here, what we are achieving here is the ability to create custom fields, but fields that could auto-populate. So for example, collectors. You can see here, those collectors are something like top 1000, top 10, watch devices, log devices. And those collectors have their own unique query to the system. And those are asking the system, okay, tell me about top 1000 or something else. And I can store this result. I can provide a timestamp for this result. And I can provide a history of those things. And this is basically like creating your own point of reference within the database, which basically means that you have all of that information available for you almost instantly. Because for many of those queries, they can take some time. Like, for example, let's say 10 seconds, maybe 50 seconds, especially if you are, for example, interested in calculating like percentile, right? Or something like that. If you calculate percentile for multiple objects, that could take some time, especially if you consider a larger time range. And for those collectors, you can execute them. Those are executed in a loop. So for example, once every minute, once every 10 minutes, or whichever you prefer. You can do also once per day, if that's what you prefer. And you can access those data separately. So that's quite nice. And here, I don't have a print screen for that, but we also support macros. So macros are great, as I think you're all aware that, that those are quite amazing in terms of providing some dependencies between different parameters. So that's also something that is very useful for creating automating inventory. We also have mappers, lookups. So we provide customers with ability to basically define any kind of table or type of values, dependencies between values, and those can help a lot. And the key factor here for our integration is, of course, API. So for API, we do support bidirectional communication for all of those types of fields. So thanks to that, you can inject to our solution anything you need. Okay, and for advanced alerting rules. So here, we have provided something quite nice. So you can see here, this is a simulation. So I'm actually editing an existing rule, and I can see how the rule behaves according to thresholds. So I have varying threshold and critical threshold. And I can see which objects can initiate this alert before enabling it. So that's also very, very useful, especially if you don't want to spam anyone, right? So to the mailbox of the technical support. So you can actually check that. And here we have multiple, I'm not sure if you can see that laser, but we can have multiple actions per alert. So here we have actions, and we have mail, REST API client. This is an example with Microsoft Teams. I have a different slide that I will show you how it looks like. And depending on the threshold level, you can send it to Microsoft Teams, you can send it to Jira or any other system that you need to store information to. We also support syslog and trap messages. So for example, if you want to enrich your CM or other solutions, you can also do that. So that's also quite nice. And for REST API, we do support providing, defining custom payloads with multiple placeholders. So placeholders are basically like a custom values that can be injected within the payload. And payload is basically a body of HTTPS post request, and of course sending emails. So that's quite that's a standard for us. Yeah. So let's check some examples. So we have actually decided to do something a bit different when you look at different solutions that can provide you infrastructure monitoring. So we have decided to create our own GitHub repository. It's open, so you can actually use it for any kind of integration that you need. And those are the few examples that for which we have created templates to integrate with. So we have some CMDB systems, we have ticketing systems. There is also communicator. There are also communicators like Slack. There should be a Discord somewhere, yeah, and Microsoft Teams. Splunk as a CM example. We also have Elasticsearch, and this is quite interesting because for active monitoring solutions like Zabbix, Nagios, SolarWinds, what we have noticed is that our customers are also using those. It all depends on the environment, but what we decided to do is to provide our customers with the ability to inject those statistics that are collected using active monitoring and inject that into Psycop. And what we achieved is the ability to create like what we like to call it a single pane of glass. So that means that you can have one dashboard that have information from all of those systems. So that's quite nice. You don't need to log in, load pages for each of those systems. You can simply put it inside our dashboard. And what is also amazing for us is that information that we can gather from those systems, we actually operate on that data the same way we do on our own. So they are not separate. And we can use multiple mathematical calculations like trends, baselines, any feature that we have in our product, we can apply to that data. And this is one of the examples, for SolarWinds. So here we have inventory information from SNMP or WMI if that's a Windows server. And there is a bidirectional communication with API. And you can see here, this is our product. And this is a view for asset inventory. And here we have privacy. So private, those are internal IP addresses. Those are being populated automatically, IP address. And here we have Orion, that would be SolarWinds. And those are populated automatically. So we have Orion status, hostname, vendor, machine type, and URL. The URL is quite important because we have decided to provide the ability to switch between systems very easily. So you can actually click on that hyperlink from our system, the system will ask you if you want to redirect your web browser to a different website as a security measure. You click yes, and you will be automatically redirected to the object that you have chosen in our system. So that's nice. You don't need to find it somewhere inside the other system. There is no need for that. You can have the hyperlink, and it will work as designed. And we are also providing hyperlinks to our system. So you can actually click from third-party system, and the hyperlink will redirect you to one of our sites. I actually have an example for alerting, so we will check that out. Okay. Yes, so here, this is an example between our system and communicators. So Slack is one of the most popular communicators, and you can see here, I have sent an alert, visibility alert, only sync client TCP flag. This is one of our built-in rules. We actually have more than 70 rules built in. And there is a button, view, in Psycop. And this button includes a hyperlink. So I think you don't see the laser. Okay, but the hyperlink inside the web browser, I hope that maybe you can see, we actually allow the customers to put any type of parameters within the URL. So you can include such things as time ranges, objects, filters, whatever you need in order to adjust your view. And for this one, it is redirecting to this alert with medium severity. And you can here put a classification like true positive, false positive, info, status assigned. You can assign it to yourself, or threshold level, and you can verify all of the information for this alert. So this is like a basic example with one button. I have an example with a bit more buttons in a second. But what is quite nice in this integration is that you can actually cooperate with your teammates on the communicator. So for example, I have replied, yeah, I can handle it today. I have some free time. I can take care of that. Of course, you can use our solution to assign alerts to yourself or to other team members. But this is quite nice if you are very used to some type of third-party communicator. Okay, this is a different example. So here we have actually injected information from Zabbix into our system. And we are receiving few questions in regards to, is it actually inside our system, or is it just a point of reference and we are just displaying information from other system? It's actually saved within our database. So you are actually checking statistics locally. So for example, if Zabbix would go down, let's say, you would still have everything in our system. So that's quite nice. And we are allowing customers to create custom streams. We are calling them streams, but you can say that those are a bit like tables within the database. And you can inject multiple information in that. So here I have timestamps, I have different parameters like response time, CPU load, memory usage, package loss, and so on. And what is quite amazing here is that you can actually use this data within our alerts. And you can actually create a combined alert that will look into multiple systems at once. So one alert, and that one alert can check Zabbix, Psycop, Splunk, and maybe some more. Why not? Okay, different example. However, we are still within communicators, but we will talk a bit about Jira as well. So here we have Psycop alerts, and we have rogue device detection. And for the integration with Microsoft Teams, this is quite nice because Microsoft is providing us with quite a lot of flexibility. This is called Microsoft Power Automate. And if you are not aware of that, it is actually embedded within Office 365. And it is included even with the baseline, the cheapest one, the cheapest Office 365. So you just need permissions from the Office administrator. But I can guarantee you, if you have a mailbox within the Office package, you have this. And Power Automate is enable you to create webhooks. And webhooks webhooks are basically listeners on a certain URL. So you can send some information into webhook. Power Automate can parse it, can initiate some additional variables. And for this example, I know it's not maybe written here in the slide, but the first HTTP is actually asking Jira to the ticketing system if there are any tickets that are created for this particular alert for this particular IP. And if it's true, then this request is actually creating a comment within that incident, within that ticket on Jira. So that's quite nice. You are not creating duplicates, but you are creating a new record within an incident. And if it's false, then create a card. So we'll talk about this card in a second. And we are sending information to Jira as well to create a new incident. And there is an email notification, no matter what will happen. And for this example, you have also view in Psycho, but I have added a few additional buttons as an example. You can have an acknowledge button. And this is thanks to our flexibility in terms of API. So you can actually acknowledge alerts using the API, or you can create a ticket in your ticketing system. So that's a quite nice example. Oh, and one more thing. When you can see here, I have medium severity, and I have maybe not yellow, but orange, let's say, color here. And those colors or those icons can actually be dynamic. Inside the Power Automate, you can have if-else, if there is some certain value, then use certain color, certain icon. Very, very nice feature. So I strongly encourage you to try Power Automate with your integration. It's really amazing. So this is just a simple example. You can have many loops. You can have while loops, case, switches. So quite nice. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention. Yeah, so here, I also have an example for that. But apart from like API request, you can of course notify CM or third-party solution. You can change maybe knuckle rules if you need to, or block additional traffic. You can check CMDB and update our allow list for rogue devices. So we are creating a database with MAC addresses for any kind of rogue devices that may appear in the network. And this is how we are doing this. So basically, we have a REST API client. And this is an example for the integration with Cisco iOS XE. And this is a simple body that is modifying the access list. And this parameter is dynamic. So basically, that means that the IP address will be injected into that variable. And we have multiple placeholders. So any kind of value that is within the alert, it can be a subnet, it can be a priority, it can be location, whatever you need, you can inject into the payload. Yeah, so this is a port scanning use case. So this is a dashboard for our alerts, and we have right-click actions. So if you are not feeling comfortable with automation and actions within alerts, you can do that manually. So we can add external destination, and the approach is the same. So you have a payload, you have placeholders, and so on. So this is the same, and you can click port scanning, block IP as an example. Okay. This is the same. However, I wanted to highlight that we can right-click on any kind of value within the system. It can be a dashboard. It can be, let's say, view for alerting or view for subnets, applications. It doesn't matter, to be honest. We have drill-down options with actions for any kind of value. And it doesn't need to be IP address. It can be a subnet. It can be an application name, whatever you need. And then those parameters, those placeholders are injected within the body of the API request. Okay, so conclusion. Check where your response time is the longest. So for us, when we are monitoring infrastructure, we can check which part of the infrastructure is providing us with the most issues. and yeah, we can act accordingly. So for this question and the automation itself, it's best to start the automation process and creating new automatic actions for the parts that take the longest. So that makes sense. And second question, how much time do you actually spend on the inventory update? So this is the part that I mentioned, that for passive NetFlow monitoring, you can have an automatic inventory, and you don't actually need to refresh that. So that's quite nice. And what tools do you use every day? So this is the part of the integration that I mentioned. So for us, we have few built-in templates already. It's on our GitHub repository. However, we are constantly creating new ones. So if you want, please check frequently on our page. However, what that question means basically is that what I'm using and how I can integrate with it. Yeah, and the last point, you can, of course, stop by and check our solution. We have a dedicated booth with a live demo. If you like to check our solution, we can show you how everything looks like. And for the last slide, I can see that. Yeah, that will be the last one. Our sales team created quite a nice picture, so you can check it out. So that's from our sales team. So we are this girl, and those are other monitoring solutions on the market, of course. So, and those are administrators, of course, network administrators. Yeah, so that's everything.